Say you don't like it, no. No, you don't like it. Let me read it, thing. Let me read. Say you don't like it, no. No, you don't like it. Let me rewrite it, thing. Let me read. Say you don't like it, no. No, you don't like it. Let me rewrite it, thing. Let me read. Say you don't like it. No, you don't like it, no. Let me rewrite it, thing. Let me in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rewriters Room. We are the men with the pen. We are the black and bright with the foresight. The elite trio. I, of course, am Armand Sadler, the Brock Lesnar of broadcasting, the John Cena of journalism, the Roman Reigns of podcasting. No, fuck. Paul Heyman of podcasting, the Roman Reigns of rhetoric. Damn, see, this fatigue is getting to me, but I pulled it together. Of course, you know I don't do the show alone. I'm here with my guys. CC, how you doing, man?
Hey, ain't nothing much popping. What's good? It's CC, the best rapper and producer in the whole wide world. God body, because I consume healthy products and do towel curls. Benevolent servant to the earth and philanthropist. And every phrase I say is a gem like amethyst. You could put any nigga next to me and women gonna look at him like, who the fuck, man? It's this. I may talk a lot, but I only got one thing to say. Love yourself and keep going. You are the world. Give all you can. Take care of your body, your people, and your land. Wait, where's Jen?
You know, a big personal phrase of mine is accountability, hashtag accountability. And I would be remiss if I did not bring up the newest member of my flock, the newest bud on my tree, Kalani Jordan, the North American Women's Championship. Thank you, is our newest member of Mid Card Mafia, our newest voting delegate to the family. They've been made. We appreciate it. I will say, for those of you who are wondering, the Heritage Cup, their paperwork is still in processing. We're still not exactly sure where that should be placed because, one, it's quite large, and two, it's not. They give it the gravitas of something that feels closer to a world title, but then it's also, you look who's competing in it, and it's mid card people. So we're still working through the paperwork. We may have another edition here shortly, but just know that North American Women's Championship, welcome. The design does give Raw Women's Championship, I'm not going to lie, but I'd like the North American. It's interesting that of all the locational titles, we never got to North American until now. So shout out to them.
For sure. Well, we want to welcome all of you listeners back to another episode. Thank y'all for the warm welcome back. It's always good to pod for y'all. The reception that we've gotten to our themed season, all Bloodline, all season. And yeah, we're gonna be moving along into the next chapter. But of course, before we rewrite, we have to do the before we rewrite segment, aka trivia. Now, this is a big matchup. I will be competing, as you all know, as I proudly proclaimed last week. I'm still undefeated. I will be going up against Channing, who is definitely a formidable opponent, and so I'm interested in what we will get from this trivia, especially because this is Jey Uso themed trivia. So CC, take it away, man.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. We got the battle of the ball niggas. It's going down today. Just some fair warning. We got a lot of Jey Uso trivia. I did throw in some like Roman and Jey stuff just to keep it, bloodline-ish. But there were some funny things I liked about Jey that I wanted to get to. So I just wanna have you guys get ready for that. To start with, I think this is not a directly Jey thing, but this Jey was the recipient of the result of this. It's actually a Roman question to start with, but Jey was the one who had to suffer the consequences of him. So it is a callback to our last episode. So we talked about the Wreck Everyone and Leave shirt. This is a Lucy, just to start with. We talked about the Wreck Everyone and Leave shirt last time. What was Roman's next shirt that he whooped Jey's ass in?
Show up and win.
Boom. That's a point for Armand. I'm going to put that there.
Fire shirt.
All right.
Great shirt.
Next question is, which, future Hall of Famer did Jey have to beat to get into the Hell in a Cell match?
Daniel Bryan? No, Daniel Bryan. That was absolutely. Was
I
it?
don't think he beat Bryan before the Hell in a Cell.
No, that's what I was saying. That was afterwards. That's when he turned. He beats him up. But who did he beat?
Because he didn't have to beat anyone. He just walked up to Roman and asked for the match.
Yeah, but there was someone else who was like, I mean, what about me though? Because you just lost the first one. So this is, he lost Clash of the Castle. And then someone was like, okay, so you lost. I should probably go now. And then they fought Jay.
Famous?
Future Hall of Famer.
Rey Mysterio.
Nope.
Damn.
Wait. Did you just guess Sheamus?
Yeah, I guess Sheamus then Rey Mysterio.
Okay, not.
He might have jet lag. I'll give you a hint. He might have jet lag right now, or in the last couple days or something.
Not Drew McIntyre.
Jet lag.
It was a different day. Like when I woke up, it was like either nighttime or a whole different day where he was.
Kingston? Big E question mark? No, Big E got hurt.
No.
It
wasn't Woods. No, what the fuck? Jet lag.
I'm trying to think. Who was at that show? Not Samuel Zayn.
I'll give you guys another hint. He was actually in a stable with Cody at one point.
Randall Orton?
Nope. Or the same stable as Cody, I should say.
Same stable as Cody. In WWE?
I didn't say WWE.
Finn Balor? Not Finn.
It's so close.
Oh, it's AJ Styles.
Yes, it is AJ Styles.
There it is.
Right? It's so like
that's so random.
Yeah. That happened?
Yes. And that's how when I was going back and I was looking at the timeline of this, first of all, the fact Roman really is that nigga. Because the fact that he had us watching this Lars Sullivan was on SmackDown during this time. I'm going to put it that way. That's how much they had AJ doing random shit, is that we didn't even remember that he was almost an integral part to Jay getting to that next step.
I look at the roster sometimes I'm doing these and you forget during that COVID era, bro, it was really 10 guys.
It's
wrestling.
Bad. Go back and look at Armand. It's hold on a second. I got this up right now. It's it's the October or late September, one of those SmackDowns. But basically
they let Jay beat AJ Styles at that time. That's crazy.
It was a little, a little bit of shenanigans.
And I feel like there was a period, especially whenever Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson come around, where they do kind of play AJ sometimes.
Yeah,
where they're
Here's the thing, though.
6-man tag.
Here's the thing, though. At the time, we actually liked this because what AJ was actually involved in, his other story was this foolish Intercontinental Championship when it was kind of unofficial with Sammy. You remember that? It was him, Sammy, and I forgot who the third person was, but they were all kind of fighting for it at the same time. So when this came up, Jeff Hardy. It was fucking Jeff Hardy.
They had a classic triple threat ladder match at Clash of Champions.
Mm-hmm. So he's coming off of that, and he's like, "Well, I'm ready. I guess I did in that one." So that's
holy shit.
That
I feel like I remember that time so vividly too. So the fact that happened and I forgot about it is nuts.
Probably blacked it out.
So the next one is directly related to this time too. So Jay ends up replacing Big E for the Universal title contenders to go up against Roman. So I'm gonna include all 5 of the people, so this is Jay, Big E, Sheamus, Corbin, and Riddle. So out of these 5, which of these people actually won a title first after that whole debacle with them trying to be the contender?
Riddle?
Well, Big E won the US Intercontinental title in December. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And Big E actually was technically champion before that because he was tag team. Technically, the New Day are all 3 tag team champions. And they were the first ones to win. All right, so Armand's up 2. Chan's up 1. We got 3 points left on the board. This last one's a 3-parter. So we could have a big swing here. Channing, if you get, at least, let's see, if you get 2, you can tie. And I gotta get up another one before that or after that. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. So this last one, this is a real tricky one. I'm sorry for this one. What 3 items did Jay note in the Tribal Chief's suite backstage when he revealed that Jimmy was back? He was like, "Oh yeah, Tribal Chief, you didn't change. You got
tribal cheese.
Yep.
Tribal raspberries.
Oh, he won already. Yep.
and fuck, tribal cheese, tribal raspberries, and
Don't overthink the last one.
water, tribal
Yeah,
water,
it
or
was
something
literally
like
some
that?
water. He was like, "We got some tribal cheese, we got some tribal raspberry, some water." I'm like, "Nigga, you don't need to point out water. Everybody got water." So yeah, sorry,
Forget
Armand
that.
wins the battle of the ball
No,
niggas
you're
this
right, and
time.
I forget that like because I'm so used to sad, serious Jay now, I forget how silly Jay Uso. Like the Usos used to be really, really silly, and they used to dance, and I like sometimes forget that. You're right. It was triple cheese and raspberry.
Mhm,
Shout out,
mhm.
shout out to Jay Uso.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
It's lit.
Well, the undefeated streak continues. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous when I didn't figure out that AJ Styles question, but
I
we
honestly thought
move.
that was gonna be like way easy. I thought that was gonna be like the easiest one. I kind of stuck it towards the end because I thought it was gonna be a little, or in the
Bro,
middle.
I'm really gonna have to go back and watch that, like, because that's just completely out of
Imagine
my
burying
mind.
AJ Styles like that to where he's just a step in
But you
this
got to
little.
think about it too, though. I mean, one, I think it's the TNA and AJ. AJ started off super fire, but there's been multiple lulls since the whole world title reign. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't say, not to say it's AJ's fault, but I'm just saying like his usage does vary a lot.
Yeah,
Similar to like
yeah,
Finn Balor, where there's like there'll be a month where it's like, oh, are they playing Finn Balor?
so
So
glad he out of hell.
you gotta remember that, and
yeah,
you gotta think too that like yes, it was a stepping stone, but it's like in the service of what we have now, it does seem more fitting. Not just again, I'm not the biggest, main event Jey Uso guy, but like Jey Uso is so over. And like
yeah,
part of that, he has to beat some good people. So it'd have been different if they would have did this, for fucking Austin Theory or some shit. But like to do it
yeah,
for Jey Uso and the bloodline, which then becomes this like, you know, year spanning storyline, it at least it was in service of something good. You know what I'm saying? At least it like I bet you the match itself was not rememberable. That's probably why we don't remember it. Because like I feel like
yeah.
especially the early Jey Uso matches, it was like all underdog, very little. Like, oh, this is a cool match. It was like, oh, this is a cool story.
I just remember people when Roman became champion. AJ was someone that people wanted to face him because the alignments would have switched at that point. Roman was heel now. AJ wasn't really a babyface at that time, but like still seeing this heel Roman character, people really wanted that story. I mean, obviously, we like almost 4 years later, we get AJ in the Fatal 4-Way with Randy in LA. But wow, I can't. I'm really have to go back and watch that.
This
But
is sorry,
go
this is
ahead.
coming off of the Boneyard match, no? Like the Boneyard match is the WrestleMania before
Yeah,
this with
Yeah,
yeah. The one
Taker.
there was like it was like 3 4
Yeah,
months before
because
that.
later at
yeah,
Survivor Series is when Taker like officially retired.
Retired.
yeah.
Yeah,
So again, AJ was doing some silly shit. Like it just like
yeah,
it's not. Now I'm thinking about it. This makes more sense.
yeah. So as you can see from our trip, this week's rewrite will be focused on a really important chapter in the early Roman Reigns bloodline story, and a chapter that kind of its DNA is just through the like literally through the entirety of the bloodline story. Jey Uso's importance is it can't be understated, and his character growth. Like this was the first time we saw Jey doing solo stuff, and it was so weird. Like Jey being on screen without his twin brother, Jey competing in matches with his twin brother not even there, accompanying him. Just the way that he was a world title match. Jey Uso not only competing in singles matches, but like world title matches, main eventing shows, and getting the name Main Event Jey Uso. It's something that no one could have even fathomed. And then, of course, you look to now, and it's like this nigga's like one of the most over superstars. But the Jey Uso evolution from being Roman's competitor to becoming Roman Reigns' right hand man is such an important chapter that sends shockwaves throughout the rest of the bloodline story. And so it's another very tricky thing to rewrite. And last week we rewrote 1 week of story. This is 2 months of story that we're rewriting, and a lot of significant things happen here. But yeah, like so I'm definitely interested in these. I'll actually kick it off first. I know I normally don't do that, but I'm gonna kick it off first. So we start with that first week, Roman's champion. They're on SmackDown. a fatal four-way match is booked between Matt Riddle, Baron Corbin, Sheamus, and Big E. If you remember, Sheamus took out Big E, and that's when Jey Uso was added as the replacement. In my story, the match is just turned into a triple threat match between Sheamus, Baron Corbin, and Matt Riddle. Baron, Riddle, and Sheamus go at it, and Baron Corbin actually wins the match. I'm sure Chan would love this. However, after the match, Roman Reigns comes out and attacks Baron Corbin, and Reigns, just being the boss that he is, just schedules a match on the spot and calls out Jey Uso. Jey Uso comes out, wins the match, but he's like not really celebrating. He's kind of like he's weird about it. And Roman tries to hold his hand up, and Jay's very like apprehensive about doing it. And then the very next week, Roman comes out, calls Jey Uso to the ring, and Jay's like, why did you hand me the opportunity instead of letting me earn it? And Roman says that when you're on the island of relevancy, you do what you want. But Jay is like, I understand that, but I don't want to do things this way. And then Roman gets into his like manipulative gaslighting bag, and Roman's like, you're being ungrateful for the opportunities that I'm providing for you. This is your first main event and your first world title match. And Jay is like, well, whatever, Us, like, no matter how I got the opportunity, I'm gonna become champion. And so and then Roman calls him over for a hug, but Roman does that thing where he's like glaring behind his back, like looking very angry, because Roman has a deeper plot that he's working on. So the next week, Jay and Roman team up against Baron Corbin and Sheamus, but Roman doesn't come out, so Jay has to fight the match alone. Roman comes out late, tags in, hits the spear on Sheamus, wins the match. The following week, they have a street fight tag team against the same team. Jay has to fight alone. Roman comes out, hits the spear on Sheamus, tags in, hits the spear on Sheamus, but Jay tags back in, hits the splash, and then he gets the win. And then they're in the ring. Jay fake holds the title up, hands it to Roman, leaves. Roman like laughs, but then as soon as Jay turns his back, like he's looking angry. Then they have a final promo the week leading into Clash of Champions, where Jay is talking about, being on his own for once and, contending for the world title, but he's also fighting for his injured brother, Jimmy Uso. Then Roman comes out and he's like, it's admirable that you're fighting on behalf of Jimmy, but you need to focus on yourself, because if Jimmy were in your position, he would do whatever it takes to win the title for himself. And he wouldn't even be concerned about you. And that's why Jimmy couldn't lead the family like you eventually will, Jay, because Jimmy is too selfish. So again, he's doing the whole manipulative thing. He's trying to pit Jay and Jimmy against each other, create the idea in Jay's head that like Jimmy's selfish, Jimmy wants things for himself and doesn't want Jay to reach the heights that Jay wants to reach. And so as Jay stands in the ring, kind of like pondering what Roman is saying, Roman hits him with a Superman punch, and then he cuts that speech that he cut where he's like, I put the food on the table. I'm the tribal chief. I'm the head of the table. This is why I run the family, blah, 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 all that. So Clash of Champions comes. Roman and Jay have a very hard-fought match. It's not a bloodline match, title match, if there's not a ref bump. So we get a ref bump. Roman hits Jay with the Superman punch and grabs a chair. As Roman's coming back into the ring, Jay super kicks him. And then Jay picks up the chair, but he's conflicted. He doesn't want to use a chair on his cousin to beat him. And so he's standing there like really like looking, just like, damn, do I do it? Do I not do it? Jimmy Uso runs out, tells Jay to not do it. Jay questions why Jimmy doesn't want him to use the chair, especially after what Roman said and how he got the idea in his head that Jimmy doesn't want him to be as successful. Jimmy gets in the ring, tries to take the chair from Jay. They do the whole tug of war thing. Roman hits Jay with a low blow from behind, and then he clotheslines Jimmy out of the ring. Roman hits a spear. He pins Jay clean. Well, as clean as, it can be. Following SmackDown, Jay comes out. He's angry. He's like, I would have won the match if Jimmy didn't get involved. And Roman says, you lost, but I respect that you want another shot. Jay suggests that they fight inside Hell in a Cell to keep out anyone who would get involved, aka his brother. Later in the show, Jimmy goes to Roman's locker room, private locker room, and tells him to stop manipulating his brother. Jimmy says he wanted Jay to win, but he didn't want to sink to Roman's level for him to win. He wanted Jey to win with pride and win clean. And Roman says that Jey should go home and focus on recovering because this is tribal chief and tribal heir business. And Jimmy's like, oh, word, I bet. So the next week, Jimmy comes out, calls out Jey, and he's trying to hype Jey up for his upcoming Hell in a Cell match with Roman. And Jey says to Jimmy that he doesn't need his fake support and he doesn't need him involved at all because he would have won without him. Jimmy reminds Jey that Roman hit him with a low blow. And then Roman comes out and tries to ask Jey, like, Jey, who do you trust more? Do you trust me? Or do you trust this guy? Do you trust the guy who tried to stop you from winning the match? Or do you trust me? And again, it's that whole putting them against one another thing. Jey's flustered, so he walks to the back, leaves them to argue. The next week, Roman defends the title against Braun Strowman. That's when he debuts the whole guillotine finisher. Jey comes out to confront Roman, asks him about the low blow. And Roman says, I did what I had to do to win, just like I do whatever I have to do to support this family. And then Jey says, me too. And then he super kicks Roman. So then the following week, Roman comes out, gives Jey props for catching him off guard, and says that he has something that's going to catch Jey off guard. The Hell in a Cell match will now be an I Quit Hell in a Cell match. And if Jey loses, Jimmy has to pledge his loyalty to Roman. Jimmy comes out, tells Jey to not take the deal, but Jey says, fuck that. He accepts it. And then after Jey and Jimmy have a fake argument, they double super kick Roman. And Jimmy announces that he's cleared for competition. So Hell in a Cell comes. Jey and Roman have another hard-fought match. In the closing moments, Jey has Roman sitting in the corner. He's got stairs like on the ropes, and he's like ready to do his little hip attack thing to hit Roman in the face with the stairs. Essentially, the idea is Roman would say, I quit before that happens. So he prepares, but then Jimmy comes out and says, nah, this is going too far, Oos. Like, I want you to win, but this is going too far. So again, Jey is questioning Jimmy's intentions, especially after Jimmy helped him kick Roman last week. So they argue, and then this gives Roman enough time to recover. He hits Jey with another low blow, punches him repeatedly, and then he's got Jey laying on the ground. Roman picks up the stairs. He's about to drop the stairs on Jey's head. Jimmy runs in, is like laying on top of Jey to stop Roman from hitting him with the stairs. And so Roman waits and essentially tries to bait Jimmy into thinking that he's not going to hit anyone with the stairs anymore. And then as soon as Jimmy turns around, Roman hits Jimmy in the head with the stairs. Jimmy's knocked the fuck out. Like, he's cooked. It's over. And then Roman puts Jimmy in the guillotine choke. Jey finally comes to, wakes up, sees that Jimmy is getting choked, the life choked out of him. Jey quits the match to save his brother. The very next SmackDown, Roman comes out, says, again, I did what I had to do. And Jimmy Uso is actually injured again, and he won't be back for a long time. And so since Jimmy can't pledge his loyalty to me and be my right-hand man, Jey, you have to take his place and pledge your loyalty to me. Jey comes out, refuses, says that was the deal. Roman says, well, when you're the head of the table, you can change the rules at any time. So either you fall in line or you're out of the family. So Jey, is confused. Segment ends. Later that night, Daniel Bryan comes up to Jey. He's trying to reason with him, talk to him, say he doesn't have to listen to Roman. He's proven that he's Roman's equal. Bryan knows that Jey could beat Roman if he gets a fair opportunity to do so. Jey tells Bryan to stay out of family business. Bryan insists, he's really trying to help Jey. You can tell Jey is just mentally fucked up. And then Jey ends up pushing Bryan into a locker. Security comes to break them up. Pierce books a match between Jey and Bryan later that night. Jey and Bryan go at it. Roman comes out mid-match to watch the match more closely. After a ref bump, Bryan goes for yes kicks to Jey. And on the final yes kick where he actually kicks him in the head, Jey ducks it. Bryan is like spent around, so his back is to Jey. Jey hits a low blow on Bryan. And then he hits multiple super kicks, hits a splash for the win. Roman comes in, says that's not enough. Jey assaults the fuck out of Bryan with a chair, splashes him through a table. Jey comes in, shakes Roman Reigns' hand, and he is officially the right-hand man.
God damn, that was fire, nigga. What the fuck? The parallels that you did with Roman doing the low blow first and then Jay doing the low blow as he makes the turn. Oh my god. This shit is so I was so fired. All right, mine is not as detailed, so I'm gonna be the segue for you two Galaxy Brain niggas. That was so dope, bro. All right. So mine, I leave a lot of stuff intact. What I'm really, really focused on is the story around the story and sort of like the how of Hell in a Cell. So going into like the fatal four way, we still get Big E being attacked by Sheamus. We still get Jey Uso being the replacement. He still wins or whatever, and then we still get those series of like tag matches. The only thing is, after that last tag match, which I think was the Samoan Street Fight one, Sheamus and Corbin are like still upset. It's not like they're together, but you can both see that they're like still upset. Um, we get to Clash. Same thing that happens at Clash. Clash happens, but then we go to that SmackDown after Clash, and then we see Roman coming in, and we get like I'm stilling Lee being here, and this time we get a one shot of him coming in from the car. He goes into his tribal suite or whatever, and it is trashed. Like it is like bad or whatever, right? And then Roman is just like wondering what's going on or whatever. But Jay's not there that week. He's still recovering. So Roman shows up the next week. Basically, same thing happens, except for at the start of the show, this happens in the middle of the show. Jay is at this show during this time. So Roman, just calls him out when he goes out to the ring, and he's like, listen. What are you doing, man? Like, are you just upset that you lost like this last match or whatever? And Jay's like, bro, it's not me. Like, what are you talking about? And Roman's like, I don't believe it's not you or whatever. And then Jay's like, what's funny is like you're so deep into this tribal chief stuff that you don't believe me, your cousin, your brother, your blood or whatever, right? They just keep having tension, and essentially like we get like the setup of the Jay and Roman thing again, except for instead of Jay asking for it this time, Roman's asking for it this time, and it's still an I Quit Hell in a Cell match. But this time, Jay gets to pick whether or not it's him or Jimmy's career, because he's saying like, I don't believe you. And not only that, I'm going to punish you for it. And rather than just beat you in a match, which I've already done as far as punishing you, I'm going to like really punish you for it. Not only because you did this, but because you're lying to me about it or whatever. So Roman's like genuinely convinced. Jay's like, dude, I didn't really do this shit, but like I have to beat your ass in order to like prove I didn't or whatever. It's kind of weird. And it's funny because like all the while, like in the weeks leading up to Hell in a Cell, this that first week where Roman talks to Jay, you see Corbin talking to Riddle in the back, but like Riddle does not like want to hear him at all. And then like that following week, you see Corbin talking to Sheamus in the back, but like Sheamus like looks like he's not really listening, but he is listening. He's just playing like he's listening or whatever. But so then we like get to Hell in a Cell or whatever. The same thing that happens at Hell in a Cell happens with Jimmy coming out. But when Jimmy comes out, like as soon as he gets to the point of like walking into the cell, he's attacked by Corbin. Motherfucker hits an end of days on that nigga right outside of that shit or whatever. And then Jay's like, what the fuck? He hit my brother, whatever. So he goes out there and he starts attacking Corbin. And then he's attacking Corbin. He goes to super kick him. He turns around, bro kick right to the motherfucking face by Sheamus or whatever. And then Riddle comes out or whatever. And you're like, oh shit, did all the people from the Fatal Four Way, are they like now gonna come and like usurp everything that's going on over here? But instead, Riddle actually attacks Sheamus or whatever. And then Roman's like looking at all of this, and like he's very, very conflicted in his head because he's the tribal chief, which means he's the protector of his family, which means that if anybody's going to whoop his family's ass, it's going to be him. And if anybody's going to protect his family, it's going to be him. So he starts clearing house on every fucking body. He doesn't like that people have hurt his family. And he also doesn't like that people are stepping in to play his role of the protector. So he fucking spears Riddle. He's like, no, I do this shit. He Superman punches Corbin, and then he just power bombs Sheamus like over the barricade or whatever. By this time, like Jay's come back too or whatever. And then Jay like spears him or whatever. And then when Jay goes for the splash, that's when Roman grabs him, gives him like the guillotine or whatever. And then we go through that same thing where Jimmy comes back in after seeing him in the guillotine, and we do that same thing again or whatever. And then the next SmackDown, Roman comes out and he says, like, look, like what I did for you and this and our family, was I was really showing you that I was the tribal chief. When you guys are going through hardship, when you need to learn a lesson, I'm gonna be the one that teaches that lesson for you. And when you guys need to be protected from these animals, from the rest of these people in this company who can't hold a candle to you, I'm also gonna be there. So he's like alpha and omega. He's not just like taking the role of like just manipulate. Like in his mind, he's like, yeah, like I'm not just like bringing you guys on as my lackeys that I'm manipulating to like help me. He genuinely believes like, no, I am your protector. You know what I mean? So it's like actually more psychotic. So
He's
that was
like
like my take on this whole thing.
he's like Joe Jackson.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
I
Damn.
get it. I see it. I get it.
Oh shit. But yeah.
I see where you're going with that
But
one.
that
All right.
like the psychology of that, the reason why I wanted to like keep like the ending the same is because when you go into the psychology of it, when Jay eventually turns or whatever and he hears that, he's like, yeah, you know what, I was in the main event because of you. I was out, I had 2 title opportunities for the first time because of you. Yeah, when they did attack me, you did protect me. So like rather than it being like a forceful or like an angry, like, you know what, I guess I do have to go with him. It's like, oh no, this nigga was right. Like I was wilding. That's how like much he gaslights Jay in this scenario. So yeah.
That's so interesting. You guys both like I think we have similar ones in action and consequence, but I think the difference I have, and this is something I was thinking about with my first ones, is that like I think what I'm with this kind of arc, what I'm kind of overly kind of rewriting is kind of Roman's turn to villainy. And so, like, in my rewrites, he's still like vicious in the matches and does low blows. He's still a heel. But like the tribal chief stuff, at this point, it's still more about kind of like you were saying, like family and like honor. And what I hope to achieve is that kind of show how it turns. And so I have something similar to you guys, but I took a different kind of road to it. And this is a also because another one of my favorite guys. So in the Fatal 4-Way match, instead of Baron Corbin, we have Dolph Ziggler, another one of my guys. But this is because, again, remember, Baron is on Broke Boy time because he lost in my rewrite. He lost the last match instead of the Fiend. So Jay does replace Big E, but this is something Jay does after consulting Paul. And so one thing you'll kind of see is that my wise man is a much more active wise man. He is like the fear and stuff will come, but he starts out thinking this is kind of like another Brock. This is another CM. This is another guy. I'm gonna just tell him and he's gonna do what I say. And so Jay goes to Paul and he's like, "Hey, Pierce came up to me. He was asking me if I wanted to get in this match. Do you think I should do it? I'm trying to make sure one that Riddle doesn't win because we don't want Riddle to win because we hate Riddle, and two, I think this will make the bloodline look good. Like this is what he's telling Paul, and Paul's like, nah, I don't do that. It's just gonna cause a headache, and like worst case scenario, you'll be in the match with Roman, and so Jay, and this is again the first kind of difference we're possible to see. Jay's like, yeah, I hear you, and then just does the opposite. Like goes to Pierce anyway, gets in the match. So in this match, Corbin does come out still on the road to Broke Boy, but not full stains yet. And he does interfere. But in this time, his interference, instead of helping Dolph win, it accidentally helps Jay win. And so in this case, Jay wins the match kind of on accident. And so Jay was not intending. And one thing I liked about your CC in particular was kind of the more intentionality of Jay being like, no, I want this. Because that was kind of like the one of the shakier parts for me with Jay starting out was like, so you got in the Fatal 4-Way, but never considered you were going to win it. And so like one thing I think with both him and Roman, it starts off much more innocent and gets kind of corrupted, you'll see. So Jay wins the match. Roman pretends like this is cool. But then they show another vignette backstage, and Paul's like, he went against me. Did the elders co-sign this? There can really only be one tribal chief. Um, and so that kind of gets in Roman's ear a little bit. And then after, in the final stage of SmackDown, they're talking, and Roman, this is one of the first times Roman comes out first and Jay comes out second because he's calling Jay down. And you see him kind of take in, it's during the 2020s, so it's like the screens and shit, but you can see him kind of take in the reaction of people to Jay. And he kind of, the first time he realizes, like, oh, these people kind of like Jay. And then you see him kind of look at Paul being like, oh, you did kind of say, look out for this. And so at Clash, Jay specifically goes to Jimmy. He's like, stay out of this. I want to do this myself. And then later, unbeknownst to Jay, Paul goes to Jimmy and is like, hey, just take this towel. Things might get ugly for your brother. I want you to have this. And so and he's like, you should go out there. You should make sure he's all right. And so Jimmy ends up going out anyway. Match goes very similar. But again, the towel comes from Heyman. So there's this kind of odd look that Jimmy's giving Heyman where he's like, I don't want to like say you won, but I can't let my brother lose. So he throws in the towel. Jay is pissed at Jimmy. Like thankful because he didn't choke to death, but he also like, hey, like you fucked me over. The next SmackDown, Paul again goes to Jimmy. He's like, you need to get your brother out the way. He's on the warpath. He's pissed. He went to Pierce. He got this I quit match. I don't know if Roman's going to take it. I don't know what Roman's going to do. This is not how I do business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Jimmy's like, I'll talk to him. And so later, there's a big meeting with, the fake. I love the fake conference table in the ring, as if there's no meeting rooms anywhere else. I just think it's so beautiful. And so there's another meeting where basically Roman and Jay hammer out, okay, we'll do an I quit match, but if we do that and you lose, you have to join the bloodline as my right hand man. It's this very honored position, like you're my family. I'm not trying to demote you, but you need to get in line because it's something we have to do to like save the brand. Because again, he's not like Mad King yet. He still genuinely thinks like, no, like I'm just doing the right thing. Because I talked to Ellis, this is what it is. Helder's like, because the Jimmy stuff was too crazy, we're gonna have it in a Hell in a Cell match. They're both like, cool, bet. Match goes the same, except at the end of it, after Jay has lost again because, he was choking out Jimmy, you see kind of Paul walking beside Jay, kind of consoling him. And what it comes out later is Paul Heyman's telling him, he's like, you know what? Like, this does suck you lost, but serving the family is a higher calling. Like, this is something you should do. Thanks for getting in line. I'm glad the family's together. Again, the right-hand man's a very honorable position and kind of a big deal even still. But a big thing he says is that kind of like you guys said, he's like, Roman gave you those matches, and Jimmy's kind of the one that fucked it up. Like Jimmy's the one taking your opportunity. Like, you guys did a lot as a tag team, but you kind of see once you're now getting out of his spotlight, Jimmy doesn't like that. And so again, that's kind of like one of the things I think I like in my rewrite, or I'm gonna kind of keep doing is like I like the idea that Paul is kind of working in the background. And it's like one of those things where it's like he creates this monster in Roman, but then it gets out of his control and he can't stop it. Kind of like they're doing with the solo stuff, but I like the idea of Roman getting there first. But because it's going well, he's just kind of cool with it, but then it gets dangerous. And so after that, Jay joins the bloodline, but he's also like not on good terms with Jimmy. They're not to the point where they're wrestling, but he's very much so like, yeah, Paul was kind of right, and I didn't supposed to win that match anyway, so it was cool. I'm now in the spotlight, but like I'm looking out for Jimmy, and now both Roman, Jimmy, and Jay all think Paul has their back. They all think Paul is like working in service of them, and currently, we don't really know what's Paul's angle. Like, is he actually loyal to Roman? Is he relaying this information to him? Is he looking out for himself? And this is also, you got to remember, this is like pre-scandal Brock. So there's always the hint that Brock might just show up again. And so that's kind of what's festering right now, where I'm leaving my rewrite. Is kind of like it seems like Paul is getting exactly what he wants out of this situation.
Bro, that's so crazy because when the bloodline shit first started, that was my thought about Paul. I was like, all right, I know Paul, he's doing something slimy. And then like over time, you saw it was more like, I'm following like the tribal chief. But there were a lot of times where I was like, did you do that shit or did
Right.
like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and I think too, like I like villain Roman, but I do kind of I want to see him be like, because it seems like he's gonna be more of a baby face when he comes back or whatever. I would have liked to see a bit more Mad Kingish, like I'm a bit more like paranoid instead of just like I run shit and I'm just gonna run shit for 4 years. I would like to see him kind of get to that point and then realize I have it, and then he becomes the arrogant person.
Yeah, I think the only times we really saw paranoia was with like Drew and Cody.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, he went into everything cocky, and yeah, just took like underhanded methods to win matches, but never tried to like eliminate a threat ahead of time. So I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, those are our rewrites for the start of the Jey Uso right-hand man arc. Next week when we return, we will be getting into the next phase of the story. As we know, that first year for Roman was pretty nuts leading up to WrestleMania 37. So yeah, next week we will have some more interesting stuff for you. Let's get into I still don't have a name for the pre-write now that it's after the rewrite now, but we're getting into our discussion of current storylines, things that we are enjoying within the company. Chan, we can start with you, man.
I know, and this is just me not wanting things to be true. I know it's been telegraphed for months, not months at this point, weeks at this point, that Chad Gable was going to be involved in the Wyatt Six's first feud, action, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go. And it's also been telegraphed for quite some time that the Creed brothers were going to be joining Chad Gable, which makes sense. Chad Gable does not have any more tag partners because he kicked out the Alpha Academy people. But I really don't want the Creed brothers to die. And I feel like that's the way they're doing the Wyatt Six, which again, people talk about the Attitude Era. There was a lot of faux deaths. Like they buried a lot of people alive, set them on fire, put them in caskets. They hung Big Boss Man at one point or crucified him. It was just a wild time. And I feel like that's where they're going to take this. And I really don't want to see Brutus die, but I feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like you might get some fire matches out of it because you got some big boys in there bumping bodies. But, like, I feel like to get the Wyatt Six over the way they need to be even more so different than the Wyatt family, there's gonna be a little bit more violence, whereas it seemed like the Wyatt family was more, like, cultish. This seems more like almost like terror, and I fear for my boys in Creed because I truly think the stable of, Team Gable is incredible, but I just don't know how they're gonna make it through this first feud. So,
Yeah,
that
I think so. I think this is actually I think this is a good thing. I think the more they get killed, the better. And here's the reason why. Ever since the Creeds, even since let's go back to NXT 2.0, like when they had all the colors and everything or whatever on the logo and shit. That's when I like first came across them. And the thing that I always noticed about them was like, holy fucking shit, like these guys are crazy in the ring. This is nuts. Like, how are people this big doing all of this shit? And the unfortunate part is that's where my interest in them stops. And the ironic thing is like Bo, it took all these years for Bo and even Eric, that fucking interview was great. That's so fire. The acting was so great. Like you see them finally developing that part where regardless of how you felt about character or in ring, it's very solid now that character is something and you can do something with that. I haven't seen that with the Creeds, and I can tell that they were trying to do something a little bit early on, especially like having Ivy Nile around or whatnot. But I think it does a good thing for both the Creeds and the Wyatt Six in the sense that the Wyatt Six were developed because they had gone through tough times and had reached, grabbed that hand and been reached out and been essentially remade, and now they're like a little bit, bigger. If they do the same thing to the Creeds, they technically have justification for what they did, but also the Creeds can have an event that happens to them that forces them to have like a switch or at least try something new where it's not completely out the blue. So I actually like it if I hope they do get killed. I'm not
No,
gonna lie.
that's a good point, especially again, this is being about Jey Uso. When you read and like watch a lot of his history stuff, you almost forget like, oh, the Usos were doing that face paint thing for a long time. Like, like
Like longer than
this,
you I thought it was just like the first
bro.
year, bro. It's a
No,
long time.
a long time, and they were winning matches, but it didn't really click over, at least for me, until the current Uso
That
Penitentiary
penitent.
more sweatpants and Jay's wrestling. But like it can take time for you to just find the character you're supposed to have. So yeah, to your point, maybe the Creeds do need again, not a full one. It wasn't a full 180 for the Usos, but it was like, oh no, this is clearly a different vibe. They're wearing fitteds now and not tank tops. Like this is just different. And maybe the Creeds need a little bit of that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
like
bro.
They're both like 6'2", 6'3" plus niggas or whatever who can fucking fly around like gymnasts, but also like have like the strength of like Brock Lesnar. Walk around like that shit. Don't just be like, yeah, I want to wrestle. Yeah, yeah, guys. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, and that honestly, it will bring me to one of my questions for the free write. because especially they're, and I'll just kind of tease it. They're much more of a Hardy Boys tag team where it feels like there is a star. And if you don't, and if they keep this going, I don't know if they'll both survive it. I think one of them might, but I don't think they'll both make it through RIP Heavy Machinery. Just saying.
Very interesting. That's funny because they were wrestling around this time
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, man. This Creeds thing, I didn't like the segment Monday. I don't like debuting a new stable and the person that they're beating up doesn't sell any of their offense. Like these dudes did a tag team combo move to him and he's laughing at them. Like I feel like there could have been a better way to introduce them. Like maybe you build up to a Chad Gable Bo Dallas match at SummerSlam, and then you debut Creeds. Or maybe you have Gable say like just me and you, Bo. Like no Wyatt Sicks members are allowed, and then you debut the Creeds, have them help Gable, and then they beat up Bo Dallas, something like that. But I wasn't a fan of it. I think that first introduction of the Wyatt Six where they killed everyone backstage, that's cool. And then them kind of haunting Gable has been cool. Like I didn't mind it. I felt like, they could have taken more time, like maybe built a little more up to this introducing the Creeds thing, but to introduce them and then to have them look like shit don't even matter. Like three of them can't handle Bo Dallas. And then the family comes out and all of them run. Like that was kind of whack to me. So, I'm willing to give it time. I'm willing to see it progress.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I don't see Gable and the Creeds winning this, and I don't know how
No,
good it is to have them lose their
exactly
first
what I'm
feud
saying. Yeah.
as a stable. I'm not I'm not really feeling that
That's
too
why you don't
much.
have two new feuds because one of them has to lose and they're both new stables. Like
Yeah.
that's the issue with having two brand new people is that this should have been a job for like the OC or something like that, but we don't currently have too many of those right now.
So
Yeah.
to that point, Armand, I think you make a really good point. Because I did like as I was watching it, I'm so into seeing like where this goes. I wasn't thinking about that at first, but I was in the back of my head, like being like, okay, where do you go with them now that you debuted them this way? I think a much better way in a maybe I think they thought it was maybe too on the nose, but sometimes on the nose is like good. It's like when Alpha Academy rejects Chad or whatever, there should have been like a perfect opportunity for him to like, him to be like, guys, I realize I messed up. You know what I mean? Can you just please just like you don't have to, I don't want your help during the match or whatever. I just really want your support. You can stay at the top of the ramp, you can sit at commentary, you can even be at the top of the stands. Can you just please, come out here and be my support for the match? He goes out and he has a match or whatever it is. Maybe he wins, maybe he loses or whatever. They come out to say support him because he seems to be like generally remorseful at this point. And then we debut the Creeds whooping Alpha Academy ass or whatever. Boom, you know what I mean? So that when we get to the point of like beating up Bo Dallas, we have already seen that this is a stable. And then the other thing I was thinking about too that you were telling me you pointed out was they did all this offense and like, he's no selling it. But then I was thinking about this too. I was just like, I would also feel stronger about Bo Dallas's no sell had I saw the Creeds whoop other people's asses.
Right.
If you showed me the Creeds beat with Chad Gable beating other people's asses, but then I see that they can't beat Bo Dallas's ass, then it makes it a unique situation where it's like, okay, what is different about him where they can't whoop his ass? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like the Creeds haven't exactly been booked strong on Raw, like throughout this time. So I guess reasonably it would make sense for them plus Gable to not be able to handle a Bo Dallas who has this mystical alter ego. But I,
I like the Y6 too, but let's not so much for Bo Dallas.
I mean, hey,
Let's slow it down. But that's the issue is that they haven't established him either. So it's like even we're saying like the Creeds couldn't take Bo Dallas. It's like, I mean,
yeah,
that's a problem, no? Like
yeah. And I don't know. I feel like we all felt the natural progression of the Alpha Academy story was going to be the Creeds help Gable
yes.
beat up Otis and Tozawa. And I like that sometimes they don't go the obvious route. Like with the Judgment Day Dom lift stuff, they didn't go the obvious route, which is good there. Here it would have been better for them to like you want Gable to look like this like right now, if we remember what Gable was doing before the Wyatt Sicks came to mess with him, he lost to Sami Zayn like 3 times in a row. So he already looked weak. But if you have him look like this powerful heel with these two heavies after they beat up Otis and Tozawa, then it just makes Wyatt Sicks coming in fucking them up even like an even bigger deal. So again, I'm willing to see how it plays out, but I'm not really rolling right now. I'll jump into my pre-write. I mean, it's pretty simple, man. Like, it's hashtag listen to Armand, hashtag listen to the man with the pen. I told niggas what was gonna happen. I told niggas. Niggas on the timeline wanted to tell me, oh, you're burning the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's not good for it long term. Oh my, it's supposed to elevate people. Is it? Is the briefcase really supposed to elevate people? Now, I will say, last year's winners, EO and Damian Priest, they definitely were elevated with the briefcase, but they were already a big deal. Like, both of them were already a pretty big deal. This was just like, this is a way to put the titles on them, and then they both had pretty gangster cash-ins. I saw EO and Priest cash in live, SummerSlam and WrestleMania. I saw both of them cash in live. Super cool. But otherwise, no, that's not really what the briefcase is for. It's not meant to elevate people. It's just to give them a cheap way of winning the title. And so I think with this Drew and CM Punk story, you're supposed to you want to know what this taught me? Niggas like to say that they're haters. Y'all not really haters.
They're not real haters.
Because if you are a real hater, you want to see the person you're hating on get this close to the thing that they want in life, and then you pull it from them. So CM Punk interrupting Drew in the Money in the Bank ladder match? Sure, it would have been cool, whatever. But then that means someone like a fucking Melo ends up with the case, or Andrade ends up with the case. None of them niggas need the case right now. None of them need to be world champions anytime soon. I'm sorry. You let Drew win that shit, and it was telegraphed. Drew said, I'm cashing in that night. It should have been so clear to y'all what was going to happen.
Even Damian was looking every 2 seconds in the match because he knew.
It was brilliant storytelling. You've got Seth calling out, come on out, Drew. Come on, Drew. You've got Damian looking up the ramp, trying to figure it out. Like, Drew creating that paranoia for them. So you got these two competitors who should be fighting over the world title, worried about someone who's going to come cash in. Both of them laying down. Drew's music hits. He comes out. He looks primed to get this title. It's written in the stars for him. And then you have CM Punk, flew to Toronto, interrupt him, ruin it for him. And again, they told multiple stories too, because you forgot Punk and Rollins had beef. So Rollins was pissed off that Punk got involved. Rollins lost the match, so he was not supposed to contend for the title while Damian was still champion. Like, it was just brilliant. So all of that to say, for all you people who like to, contend with my ideas and to tell me I'm wild and y'all be so histrionic with with the way that you assess things. It's not good for the briefcase long term. Oh my God, this is so wrong for all the guys who are working hard and competing. I am sure Andrade is fine with this. I'm sure Melo is fine with this. Jey Uso is fine with this. Rikishi might not be fine, but who the fuck who cares what Rikishi thinks, man?
They literally
you sitting on a podcast talking about this. There's a reason you're not in the writer's room. All due respect, OG.
They literally had Melo talk about what we all saw in the match was that he was the star. Like, we were like, oh shit, that match kind of made, like, you do not need to win to be made. Like, that's the whole point. One, like, most of them, like, who was in it was Andrade,
Melo, Chad Gable, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, man.
Got you. Okay, so who needed the Money in the Bank briefcase in order to help their career over the next year? So like
come on. Andrade's not even close to world title contention right now.
Bro, need a US title again first.
And Andrade's elite in ring. I fuck with Andrade. This is not disrespect. This is like people try to tell me, oh yeah, Andrade might be winning that briefcase. Who is he cashing in on? Cody?
Be for real.
Cody? Priest?
Wait, no, because that would be really fucked up. Cody's such a carny that Andrade won the motherfucking Money in the Bank.
He'd probably do it.
Cody would just do his promos in Spanish back and forth with that nigga. He'd be like,
truthfully, I think to stick it to AEW, Cody probably would let Andrade cash in on him if Cody wasn't involved in this forthcoming Bloodline story. Cody would probably let Melo cash in on him. But Cody is not losing that title for a long time.
There's also sorry, go ahead.
Now, as for Raw, the world title picture there is for the next year is figured out. It's Priest. Priest is going against Gunther. You got Seth Rollins. You got CM Punk, and you got Drew. Like there's nobody else getting into that world title picture for Raw for the next year. No, literally, no. It's figured out. It's as clear as day. If you even try to come up with a counter argument to what the Raw world title picture is, I'm sorry, I'm calling you stupid. It's figured out. It's done. It's over. So no, like this is what was meant to happen.
Yeah, you pointed out that it's multiple storylines, and I caught that too. Here's one thing I didn't realize until you said that. Because you said, I pointed out how like Damien was looking, you talk about like Seth was looking or whatever, and it's like two contenders are supposed to have this match, but they're just looking for blah blah blah. And then I thought about it, I was like, oh shit. Like, so that means we get to have like another Damien Seth, like proper one-on-one, because we didn't get it this time. Like, so now it just also extends that you didn't burn Damien and Seth real quick because they never really got to get that one-on-one. So it's just like, oh man, I love it. I love it.
Damien Priest pinned Drew. It's now it's three times that Drew's been pinned by Damien. WrestleMania, Clash, and now Money in the Bank. Come on, man. Well, what were you about to say, Chan?
I just want niggas to be for real. Should keep freezing.
Please keep it 100.
There's just Jey Uso is not winning that title. Let it go. Just let it go. Like, and beyond him, no one else in that match winning Money in the Bank. So y'all niggas act like won Money in the Bank. So please miss me with they're supposed to elevate somebody. The Miz has won Money in the Bank recently. Is it? Nobody was crying in. And so the idea that like the Money in the Bank is not just a storytelling device, just like the Royal Rumble, just like the Elimination Chamber, just like King of the Ring. This is not. I know it's a really cool gimmick, but at the end of the day, it's a gimmick, and you got to understand that gimmicks are just plot devices. They're not that special. Because you know what's gonna a year from now, there will be a new Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
and it'll be fine.
like
so
we're
whatever
gonna do
you
this
think of
every
this one,
year, guys.
it's not going away just because we had one you didn't like. They're just gonna keep doing it. And then guess what? Next year it'll be someone who has it for a long time. You guys will be sick of that too. So like, just let it go. But yeah, the Jey Uso thing, make peace with it.
And you made a
It's
great
not
point.
happening.
You made a great point about the Money in the Bank being a plot device, which is a really good segue to my topic, which is Alexa, Play Motivation by T.I. Plot devices. I felt like, when I started, I'll talk about, this a lot or whatever, but I started back watching sort of regularly 2017, 2018. I would say the whatever that Seth IC title run was when I really started like, getting back into it. And I saw like a lot of quote unquote storylines, if we can even call them that during that time. And I was just like, oh, we're just like trying to make things happen. Right now on SmackDown, NXT, which oh my gosh, the way they're doing it, and Raw, every single person, whether it be a mid carder, even management, everyone has a sensible and a good motivation, whether it be Sonya and the Studs, whether it be the new version of Damage Control, whether it be I mean, you got even with the creeds or whatever, like they have, like that's another reason why I said like they should get killed or whatever, because they're having the experience of, we came in, oh shit, we fucked up, so then we got buried, so like, but then they can have like, you know what, we were getting buried, so let's have some motivation. Like everyone has a good motive, even Alpha Academy and Tozawa or whatever, like Tozawa being, one of the more goofy people, and Miz and R-Truth or whatever. Every single person on this roster right now and all of their storylines has a really good motivation. It's not a stupid thing. It's not a weird thing. And it's very, very hard for everyone to have a reason why they're doing what they're doing without all of that shit getting jumbled and making one person have like a dumb motivation. So I just wanted to like stop and point out and give a fucking shout out to the creative team right now, because there has never been a time like I told y'all, I'm getting through 99 going on 2000 of like Raw or whatever and SmackDown. There has never been a time where I watched the WWE and I watched that show from start to finish and I didn't think like, what the fuck? What, like, at least once or twice, like, why are they okay? Like, all right. I mean, if we're gonna do that, I guess we're setting that up or whatever. Or you can tell like they told someone like go out and do a promo and say like, you're really mad about this. Like when I'm watching people do promos these days, honestly, I have a hard time figuring out if niggas is shooting sometimes. Like, because sometimes a lot of these motivations are very real. People be bringing in real shit. They be talking about real shit or whatever, while also mixing it with their character. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. And also just like get y'all take on it. Like, how do y'all feel about everyone, people's motivations? Are there any like storylines that y'all see these days or any people's motivations that y'all see where it's like, I don't think that's a good reason to do X, Y, and Z?
No, but like kind of like you said, one thing I really currently appreciate is how people will just be direct, where it's like, yeah, I make a lot of money and I'm Logan Paul. That's why I got this match. Like, there's sometimes there was, especially when we were growing up, which was cool for the time, but there was more like subterfuge or more, this is about honor, who's the best or who's the man. And now they'll just more so be like, yeah, I don't have to show up because I draw in numbers. People watch me. And it's like I just appreciate that because sometimes it does get kind of annoying where it's like, yeah, I get it. You're talking about you're the toughest guy in the locker room, but at a certain point, it's like I don't really care who the toughest guy in the locker room is, like, because I don't think you guys care. Because if I think about that, I'm supposed to think that two demons, some sex vampires care about who the toughest guy in the locker room is. Like, come on. But I do respect Gunther being like, no, like wrestling is serious. Like this is something I really give a fuck about, and like you are playing around with it. What he tell Damian Priest? He said, bro, he said you poor. Like it's just yeah, that's what someone who looked like Gunther, who's been as heralded as he is, would probably think of someone like
From where
Damian
he's
Priest. And
from.
so from where he's from, exactly. And so I just appreciate him being just more direct and more just kind of like real world with like, yeah, that is probably how that would go. And it's much less like, yeah, I'm the Texas rattlesnake every week, and that's why I do shit. It's like, okay, bro, we got it.
Shannon, by
But
the
like,
way, you just named my next album, Two Demons and Some Sex Vampires. That's the name of my next album. I appreciate that. What you think, Armand?
Yeah, man, I think this is what fans always wanted is just like everyone to at least be doing something sensible. Like Friday we got a Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews tag team match against Los Lotharios, but it wasn't just a random exhibition match. It was done for a reason. And that reason makes sense. And that reason kind of actually made you invested into the match and what the finish was going to be. I'm just like, wow. Like, I'm actually like, I see Apollo Crews on screen and I'm not just laughing at him being a jobber. I'm like, oh, the reason he's here actually makes sense. And wow, shout out to him actually getting used and being able to show what he can do. And Baron Corbin as a face, like I never thought I would like Baron Corbin, but I actually enjoy him as a face. Like
Finally,
he's
welcome.
he's funny. He's like it's just it's working for me. And I mean, you go to the women's side, like the bottle girls, but being with Lyra, like while I would want more for Lyra, it makes sense because they all got beef with Damage Control, and now them with what did I call them the other day? New Strap Republic, Zoe, Shayna, and Sonya. Like them beefing with them, like it everything. Everyone who's doing something, it all makes sense, and I think that that's all you can want because again, this is a television show about wrestling. And while on television shows there are random characters who just pop up, you know why they're there. They play some type of role. They contribute something. And now these Raws, these 3-hour shows, they're starting to fly by because I get into just the flow of the show. I'm like, oh shit, it's 10:30. Like we got one more match to go. Like, but shit, I like that. I like that. Even if I didn't love that, I understood that. Can't ask for more, man.
Yes, sir. And
Um,
it was
Go ahead.
funny, like that last thing that you said about like getting into the flow of the show, that's like another reason why the motivation thing is a big thing to me, is because like there would be times where I would get stuck thinking, why did that just happen? And it would make the show feel longer because I'm trying to find justification, but now I gotta sit through it and like, you know what I mean? So yeah, yeah, I love
No,
that.
and honestly, like, and again, not trying to speak ill of nobody, but and I love the Wyatt family, but that was the issue with the Wyatt families. A lot of times, is you be like, what are they doing now? Or what's going on? What's he talking about? And it would look cool, but like you wouldn't really understand sometimes. And also I think we can go to cut after this, but I think sometimes about like wrestling we were growing up and it's like were the reason that some of these moments that I remember so big is because the preceding hour and 40 minutes was actually that bad. like,
As
like
somebody watching it right now, yes, it
yeah,
absolutely fucking was. It might be
like
worse than you
the
remember.
jump from
Bro,
1 to 6 is 5. But if I was already at a 7, I can only go 3. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
bro.
I think about that sometimes where it's like, yeah, if I watched a lot of fucking, right to censor matches, I would be excited when Triple H and Evolution got on stage.
That's what I be trying to tell niggas about their beloved Attitude Era. When you ask people, like, people say the all-encompassing Attitude Era, but what they really mean is Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vince McMahon, Triple H, The Rock.
My
That's
nigga,
it.
one of the best people on the mid card where I am right now is Al Snow. And that's not to shit on Al
Yeah.
Snow. It's just saying, like, he was legitimately one of the, and whether he come out and do a stupid gimmick or whatever, like I didn't realize how great he was at crowd work. That guy's fucking great. But yeah, no, he's one of the more entertaining parts. And there's people who during that time, and obviously they were coming up or whatever, who are now Hall of Fame legends whose names you would put over Al Snow. But when they segments came on, I'm like, motherfucker, you boring. Put that crazy boy back on.
We watch like I feel like, and we'll probably do this a different season, but like when we would go back and look at those like 90s pay-per-views, early 2000s, the main events fire. 1/3 of card fire, bro. But it's a lot of like Big Boss Man versus Ken Shamrock. Like a lot. Like a lot of
With the
random
Steve Blackman interference.
yeah, it's just a lot of like, oh, I guess it's Dude Love versus, Maven in a hair versus tie-dye match. It's like I guess that's the second last match at Unforgiven. It's like you said, you remember the main event and you remember the Trish Stratus matches, but what you don't remember is the 3 matches right before then where the Dudley boys put like what's Shorty's name? That old lady threw a table
Oh yeah,
a
May
lot, bro.
Young. Yeah.
They were doing Mae Young wild dirty, bro. And that was a large part of the show. Was just, oh, the Dudley boys are gonna powerbomb Mae Young.
Yeah,
That
man.
would kill 15 minutes.
We've never had so many interesting characters who can also go in the ring. Like, you're either getting a good match or you're seeing someone you care about, or both. It's a really beautiful time to be a wrestling fan. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's that. So for our free listeners, shout out to y'all for sticking through. Hope that y'all enjoyed this rewrite. We will be back with y'all in 2 weeks.